First of all, a lot of people from Romania are interested in discovering countries that are close by. Kosovo is one of them. Beautiful places, beautiful people. How would you invite the tourists from Romania to come here, and what do you think Kosovo has to offer to Romanian tourists?
I think first of all we should encourage the travel agencies, tour operators to work together, Romanian ones and Kosovo, so they can create different packages already and with cheap prices for the people of Romania to explore all the different tourism Kosovo offers, different places, beautiful mountains, skiing and other stuff.
When it comes to Kosovo, one of the main thing that tourists are worried about is the safety. So what can you say in order to tell them that it's a safe place and it's a very nice place to travel to?
The key thing for tourism, first of all, is safety, because no tourist is going to go to some place they don't feel safe. Kosovo can offer this fully, like it's totally safe. We never had the issue with some tourists arguing or having problems safety-wise, and Kosovo offers this 100%.
Now, if you only have one day to spend in Kosovo, what would you do? What would you suggest to tourists to do?
In one day, a tourist can do a lot in Kosovo. For example, can go hiking in beautiful mountains, skiing, or looking at artifacture, cultural statues. But one more thing that the tourist can do is, based on his geographic place, Kosovo, it's in the middle of the Balkans, and you can go to three different countries from Kosovo within a day.
If you have 1 week in Kosovo, what would you suggest them to do?
For a week, a tourist can explore the whole Kosovo and all kinds of tourism Kosovo has, because Kosovo is not a big country, but it has a lot to offer, so they can do everything close by. There's also a different option, which they can spend, let's say, 3-4 days in Kosovo, and then they can go to Albania for the next 4 days, go to the beach, or go to Montenegro, Macedonia, whatever they like. And this is a thing only Kosovo can offer.
The library is one of the monuments in Priștina that attracts a lot of views, not only because of architecture, but because of its history and heritage. Could you please tell us a few words? Why is it famous and what makes it so special?
So yeah, welcome to Priștina. Yeah, this is National Library of Kosovo, one of the most iconic buildings in Priștina, the capital of the country. So why it's special is because in the center of the university campus of University of Priștina, the public university, it was built in the 70s, and it was this new wave of architecture that came to the country at that time during former Yugoslavia. So this wave of architecture was called brutalist architecture, and the architect was the designer of the building was from former Yugoslav Republic Croatia, Andrea Mutnjaković, and it was really interesting, like how he wanted to convert some historical layers of Kosovo into a modern piece. So based on the references we have from the architect, actually he mentioned that the National Library encompasses the combination of Byzantine architecture and Islamic architecture. So this is a heritage of Kosovo. So we have many, let's say, Byzantine architecture, but also very dominant monuments from the Islamic architecture. So this is a modern interpretation of the architect itself.
Now this is an actual functional building. What is there to see or to do inside?
So today this is an open public institution. It's open mainly for the students of university campus. So it's for like more than 25,000 of students of public University of Priștina. They usually come during the day, have their, let's say, the reading chambers. So all these cupolas that you see here are the reading chambers for different like students, so like different departments. There is also these 4 additional layers, like underground layers of the building, which hosts the collection of more than 2 million copies of different historical books, contemporary books, journals, newspapers, etc. What's also interesting maybe here to mention that a couple of years ago there was a famous article, like a blog, international blog, where this building was referenced as one of the ugliest buildings in Kosovo. So there was this famous article about many ugly buildings in the world, and this was presented from Kosovo. Personally, this is not ugly building for me, but yeah, we can agree maybe it's a very iconic. If you would Google Priștina today, this is one of the first buildings that you get. But even this was really an interesting article, because many tourists that come in Priștina, actually they want to see this ugly building. But as I say, this is one of the maybe most unusual buildings because of the architecture, and nowadays it is declared as a protected monument as well.
So where are we and why is it important for people to come here and visit?
So we are in front of Heroinat Memorial. Heroinat stands, it's an Albanian term used for the woman heroes, and it is one of the maybe most sad or sensitive memorials which is connected to the recent war of Kosovo from 1999. As you might know, from the latest war, Kosovo had more than 14,000 people being killed, from which 70% of them were civilian. And even close to half of population, close to 1 million people actually left the country during the conflict. But this specific memorial, I mean, you can see in Priștina many memorials dedicated to politicians, to guerrilla, let's say, representatives, to military commanders, even USA politicians. But Heroinat Memorial, as I said, is a very specific and very unique site dedicated to the victims of the sexual war crimes. So during the war, more than 20,000 women were the victims of the sexual war crimes, which unfortunately, even today, we have challenges how to, let's say, treat and how to support this community. So what happened a couple of years ago, one of the survivors, she went out to the public with her story, and that was the moment when our society, or even our institutions, started to, let's say, speak openly about these war crimes. And luckily from that moment, our government is now financially supporting this community, and even one of the at that time, one of the victims, or let's say one of the representatives from this community, she was elected, and she was part of our parliament. So as I said, this is a very difficult even story for today, but like speaking openly about the victims of the sexual war crimes. And this is a very symbolic, because we have the pins, or like these nails that you see, so which symbolizes the number of the victims that I mentioned.
Monumentul Newborn vorbește despre independența statului Kosovo. A fost inaugurat în 2008, iar de atunci în fiecare an ne schimbă fața. În momentul de față, literele au 3 metri înălțime, iar imaginea lor se schimbă la aniversarea Zilei Independenței statului Kosovo. Pentru GoNext, Adrian Boioglu și Mitica Raftu. So each year this monument has a new face, let's call it that. What's the message for this year, for 2025?
So newborn monument or newborn typographic sculpture, it's connected with our Independence Day, 17 February 2008, when Kosovo was born. Even today, Kosovo is the youngest country in Europe and the youngest country in the world. So as you might know, this typographic sculpture, it changes the colors and design every year. Sometimes some political messages, some community messages, some, let's say, positive, even some difficult messages. But the last year, the design is mainly referring to the age we are living today, which is artificial intelligence. So we don't have any politics involved this year.
Now, throughout the years, the messages were either political or supporting EU, going against EU, supporting other local or national issues. So what would you say was the most important, the most resounding issue that was portrayed in here at this newborn monument?
Yes, you're totally right, because this is, in our context, we call it a living monument. So which means that every year, like local people, of course, with the permission by Minister of Culture, people gather here and the author of the memory of the site decides about the concept. So sometimes the concept is depending on the political circumstances. So for example, in the first years, the design was like all the flags that recognize Kosovo's independence. Then some other years it was women empowerment. Some other years it was some local political topics. But one year it was a message against European Union. And why was this message against the European Union? Because European Union supports Kosovo in its path, but Kosovo is part of this visa regime. And if a student, if an artist, or if local people from Kosovo wanted to travel to Europe, we had to apply for visa. And that was a very bureaucratic, very difficult process for us. But luckily, from this year, Kosovo is visa-free, so for Schengen area we can travel with no visa from this year. But as I said a couple of years ago, it was a message like against EU, like the freedom of movement.
This is an amazing piece of construction, engineering, and in the same time tradition. Tell us in a few words what makes it special and why should the tourists coming from Romania and all over the world come and visit it.
In the capital of Kosovo, in the old part of Priștina, we have the complex of the ethnographical museum, known as like a Emingico complex, because of the family who lived here until 1958. It was the Emingico, and the visitors can see the complex with 18th and 19th century houses and how it was the life in Kosovo between 16th and 20th century. We have opened the house of the 18th century where they can see the fire room, the fireplace, where is also like a kitchen, and up there is the living room, the guest room and the wooden balcony, but the construction is amazing because from the 18th century, since that period when it was built, it's still open for the public. We opened as an ethnographical museum from 2006, and before it was a natural museum, and before the museum, like natural and the ethnographical museum, it was the family who lived here until 1958. We used to be open also with the 19th century house that we finished the restoration, and by the next year is going to be open also the exhibition cycle of life, birth, life, death and cultural heritage, and with traditional costume, jewelry, musical instruments, weapons, so visitors can see also the house of the 19th and the 18th century in the old part of Priștina, what it's still survived from that period when it was built.
Tell us a few words about the family that used to live here.
Family of Emingico, they were traders and farmers. That's why in the entrance of the complex it was the building of 18th century and stable for animals. The second floor there were bedrooms for the workers and the other people what they were trading with Priștina. And the stone house also in the entrance of the complex, it was the shop and used by this family. But known like one of the richest family. But like many Albanian families in 1958 it was deported Turkey and still over there. Later on it was open as a museum where we were operating also like ethnographical museum today.
So what makes it special? Why should everyone visit this location?
So we are in front of Cathedral of Saint Mother Teresa. She is known to be, she's a global icon, she's a saint, but what's also interesting and why this is important for Priștina people, for Kosovo, for Albanians in general, she is considered one of the national heroes. Mother Teresa, by ethnicity, she was Albanian. She was born in Skopje, North Macedonia, neighboring country, but at that time used to be Ottoman Empire. And it's also interesting that Mother Teresa, as a young girl, she visited Kosovo, and there's a church in the eastern side of Kosovo called Black Madonna Church, where she, as a young girl, received her divine call. So that's the moment when Mother Teresa decided to dedicate her life to Christianity and to serve the humanity. So after her visit in that church that I mentioned, where she received her divine call, she traveled to Ireland, then she moved to Calcutta, India, where she built her mission. So the building, as you can see, it's a new building, but all the seat of the Catholic community moved to Priștina after the canonization of Mother Teresa in Kosovo.